Welcome back, everyone. It is time for card number 3. This is an embossed resist watercolor technique using the Take Flight, I think it's called, bundle. Actually, we're going to just use the stamp set. So for this, in your packet, you're going to need from the Balmy Blue piece of paper forward. So you should have a full sheet of Balmy Blue, a half sheet of pecan pie, and you should have 2 envelopes. Inside each envelope, be careful, inside each envelope are 3 of these smoky slate pearls. Yes, I know there's only 2 on my hand, but there's another one in there, a single one. So they're all different sizes, so it doesn't matter what size it is. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be creating the card bases. So we are going to score the card at 4 1/4 inches, and we're going to score it along the 8 1/2 inch side. And then we're going to cut it in half so that we have 2 pieces that are 5 1/2 inches this way. So now we have created 2 card bases from our one sheet of blue. I'm going to put that aside for a second, and I'm going to cut the pecan pie. The pecan pie layer, according to your directions, the pecan pie layer is 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so we are going to do, I'm going to cut this piece of paper 5 1/4 on the long way. And then I am going to, this little piece, I'm going to throw it away because I don't need it. And then I'm going to cut a 3 3/4 and another 3 3/4. So that will be my next layer for my 2 card bases. Okay, so card base with a layer, card base with a layer. Okay. The next thing you're going to need is you're going to need to open your Fluid 100 pack of watercolor paper, and you are going to need 2 pieces of this, 1 for each of the cards. So 1, 2. Okay. And the pieces that you need are going to be 3 1/2 by 5. So these are already 5 inches wide. So, but they're not 7 inches long. Oh wait, they might be 7 inches long. Let me see. I might need only one of these. Is it 7 inches? Yes. Okay. So we're going to cut this in half. So we're going to cut this in half at 3 1/2. So we're going to have 2 pieces that are 3 1/2 by 5. So we only need 1 piece. Hooray! Okay. The other thing that you are going to need is you're going to need a Versamark ink pad. I have this for you if you are attending in person. If you're not attending in person, you need white embossing powder. I have my powder tray, and then you're also going to need a heat tool for the embossing portion of this project. Okay, so let me get our stamps mounted and get us rolling. Okay, so we are going to be using, like I said, it's actually called Adventurous Sky, and we're going to be using the airplane and the clouds, and then when we're all done with the watercoloring part, we are going to be using the, does it say Happy Birthday? We're going to use the Happy Birthday, which is way down here in the set. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, now keep in mind, this is white paper and we're using clear ink, so it may be difficult to see it, okay? But I'm going to advise you and to make sure you ink your images really good, that you place when you place your clouds, hold it down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lift it up. It's going to be very hard to see because it's a watermark, okay? Then I'm going to do my airplane, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ink it really good. And I'm going to put my airplane down towards the bottom at an angle so that it looks like it's going up in the sky. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to press firmly, straight down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, pull it off carefully. I am going to use my white powder over the tray. And I'm going to dump my white powder all over my project so that I can pick up that ink, that clear ink that I just laid down. So now I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but it actually came out really nice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my heat tool out and I'm going to heat set this embossing powder. So once it's heat set, it should look white. So you're going to know that your powder is all cured when you can see that it's gone from that dull to a shiny finish. It's no longer a powder, it's now a raised vinyl. Okay, so I think I've got it. All right, while that's cooling for a moment, I'm going to get my stamps out of the way, and you're going to need your watercolor painters. And this is where you may use more than one. It is a matter of preference. There is no specific one that you have to use. We are going to be using Balmy Blue and Pecan Pie ink refills. And again, we're going to use our glass mat and our wiping cloth to be able to clean up our mess. So I'm going to start with, I think I'm going to start with the Pecan Pie. Ooh, I just spit on my project. Okay, a little more water. All right, so for my Pecan Pie, I don't need a whole lot, but I'm going to do an okay size drop. And because I'm coloring the airplane in that, I want to have kind of a detail, more of a detailed brush. So I'm going to use the smaller detailed brush. And again, it has the word push on it. So I am going to be pushing water into my ink. And hopefully you guys can see this. Okay. So I'm going to be pushing that in, and then I'm going to see whether or not I like how dark it is. So I am going to stay in the lines on my watercolor paper, and it's going to, this is called watercolor resist because it is not going to stick to the embossing powder. It's just going in between. Okay. So that we'll be able to see the other pieces. So I'm going to continue coloring with the Pecan Pie, specifically my wings. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. And my plane is also going to be the Pecan Pie. So I'm following, and if it's okay if I touch the embossing, because it's not going to stick to that. It's only going to stick to the watercolor paper. And that's why it's called a resist technique. Okay, so that is my airplane. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do even the nose of the airplane. Okay, and I'm going to continue now onto this wing. I don't want to go outside of the wing, which is why I'm using the detailed brush. Okay, and this wing goes all the way across. Okay, so I think I even did the wheels because I tried not to use too many colors. So I even did the wheels brown. But I think That's primarily my airplane. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze more water out of here to go ahead and clean my brush. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change colors. I'm not going to wipe that up yet. I'm far enough down because if I want to touch something up or make something darker, I'll have it. And then the Balmy Blue, I'm going to make a little bit bigger dot because I have a lot of background to do. Now for this one, I am going to use my big fat brush because I'm doing some watercolor. So I'm going to pull a little bit out, but I don't want to dilute it too much because I want to have some darker clouds. So I'm going to go ahead and paint on this watercolor paper, and I'm going to let it get lighter as I go over. And again, I don't want to touch the wings of the plane, so I want to be careful. It's okay if I go up to the wing, because remember I have that white embossing powder, but I don't want to go on top of my pecan. So as I get to the areas where it's a little bit more restricted, I'm going to want to use a smaller brush so that I can get those detailed images. So I can get closer to the wing without getting into the wing. So I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm going to pull in my medium brush and I'm going to get closer to the wings. I can make it as dark or as light as I want. I'm happy with the color you see here. And as it dries, it's going to change a little bit. And that's okay too, because we know that the sky is not perfectly one color. When I did my initial sample for the event, my colors kind of ran a little bit and I thought, oh no. And then when it dried, I kind of liked having that little bit mix of color. So don't be afraid. If you want to like pull in a little bit of this and a little bit of that to the blue and the pecan makes a little bit of green. And so if you want your sky to have some different colors, go ahead. And then I'm squeezing more water onto my paper so that I can dilute it a little bit so that the ground is a different color. And again, I'm pulling a little bit of both in and squeezing that brush as I put it on so that I can dilute it a little bit. And so when it dries, you're going to see that we have a little bit different color. Okay. All right. So there we go. If you want to add more blue, add more blue. If you want to add some more brown and the blue together to make it a little greener, you can do that too. And then we need to let this dry. And remember, you're doing 2 of these. Once you have them both colored, then you want to go ahead and you want to clean up your area so that you don't get it onto your finished project when you're putting it together. I'm going to go ahead and cover up my watercolor brushes. Maybe? Okay. And I have this happy birthday image that is going to go down here with black ink. However, my project is much too wet for me to do that. Every one that you do is going to be different, and that is okay. That's the whole beauty of watercoloring. There's no 2 projects that are going to be exactly the same. Okay? All right, so I am going to take my black ink pad. Actually, I'm going to use a StazOn ink pad. And the reason I'm going to use a StazOn ink pad is that this is watercolor. And in case there's any residual water, I want to make sure that it gets, it doesn't cause some bleeding. The Memento ink is water-based and works with alcohol inks. And this is all watercolor. So we're going to use StazOn ink. Stays on is just that. Whatever it gets on, it stays on. It is permanent. Smells a little bit like amaretto, like a, and it's sticky. It smells like an almond paste. So I want to make sure, oh, this one is a dry one. Ooh, I better re-ink that bad boy. Do I have another one? Let's see. Yes, I have another Stays On right here. Let's try that one. And this one I will re-ink. Let's try this one. Oh yeah, that's much better. Happy birthday. I want to make sure that I don't get any lines from the image, and I want to go straight down and straight up. Straight down. Oh, it didn't go on. I think it might be too wet. Oh, how am I going to line that up? Well, I'm going to do my best. That is terrible. I hope yours comes out better than mine. All right, and then the last step is to add your 3 little pearls on there. You're going to adhere your watercolor to your pecan pie on a flat basis. You're going to adhere this to your card front, either flat or with dimensionals, your choice, and you are done with card 3.